So, you see, we are trying to see how optical sources, mostly lasers, okay. The reason behind them already we know based on the characteristics of the laser, that we can couple the light efficiently depending upon what is the absorption band that we are using. We can also focus the light efficiently because we can control the beam characteristics to certain extent with the lasers, okay, etc. And hence lasers are very much applicable for therapeutic applications as well, biomedical therapeutic applications. And the wavelength range varies from UV range till 1.064 micrometer or 1064 nanometer in the arc. Further down, erbium YAG etc. up to 2.7 micrometer or so, and then further down CO2 laser which is 10.6 micrometer. But mainly nowadays it is all limited up to 3 micrometer or so. Okay. So, those lasers are used for some of those applications. Now, what are those applications? One is photo biomodulation. Now, in case of a photo biomodulation, it is a modulation, it is more or less photo chemical effect. Okay. So, it is a photochemical effect, and there is not much of heat as such generated, not much of heat generated, mainly exciting certain components of the cell in order to allow healing or a proper blood flow, etc. Okay. So, basically healing of nerves, right. So, heal tissues, okay, nerve cells. So, healing, okay, healing effect, healing of tissues, nerve cells, or during some injuries, if nerve cells etc. gets injured, then using using this photo biomodulation approach, we can allow faster revival, okay, basically. Then reduce the inflammation, reduce inflammation, okay. And what happens here in this case is, generally the light source which we used are with the wavelength range 600 nanometer to 1100 nanometer, with the power range of the order of few milliwatt or watt order, few tens of milliwatt, okay, to watt order, or in terms of intensity, a few 1 milliwatt per centimeter square to 1 watt per centimeter square. It is not very high, it is not very large, it will not induce any heating effect as such, significant heating effect as such. Okay. So, it is a low irradiation level, so which will stimulate the tissue. So, basically what it allows, this type of wavelength around 600 plus nanometer wavelength or around 1000 nanometer wavelength light, when it interacts with the tissues, either within the tissue, the ATP cells, ATP adenophosphate, adenosine triphosphate chemicals, which are useful for energy, for providing energy to the cell blood, the cells for opening, closing, etc., or even NOx, NO levels, etc., get affected. Okay. And growth factor production is growth factor production comes into picture. Okay. So, basically light interacting with some of the molecules of the tissue, and those molecules may be present in ATP, right, lining, or maybe directly interacting with NO or some other molecules which will induce right, some changes in terms of growth factor, okay, etc. So, with this, let us say when NO gets excited, it helps in dilating the blood vessels. Okay. So, dilation, okay, it helps in dilating the blood vessel. So, what will happen? Blood vessel will slightly increase in size, or it will not allow collapsing of the blood vessel basically. Okay. So, the blood flow will improve, blood flow will improve, okay, will improve, and when blood flow improves, the tissue, right, rehabilitation, right, improves, physiological or right activities can be improved further using this. That is why this type of light sources are being considered for healing clinical applications also. Okay. So, people are looking towards whether we can use it for clinical application to improve either blood flow or to reduce right, pain or improve the healing effect, etc., and clinical application to dermatology. Okay. So, it is right, it has applications in dermatology, of course, during surgery also, right, during surgery, dentistry also. People are see, for example, anti-inflammation. So, if some tissues get swollen, then by using this and improvising the appropriate blood flow, the healing, right, can improve. So, dentistry, right, treating the oral tissues, etc., treatment of oral tissues basically, treatment of oral tissues, right. And the as if you can see the photobiomodulation, right, as in the so very low power, right, applications, right, and if it is basically the continuous wave laser is used long, and exposure time may be of the order of few tens of seconds, or right, 60 seconds, 50 seconds, some few tens of seconds exposure time, right, will allow this healing effect. Okay. So, that is the photobiomodulation. Okay. So, that is very right, important, and of course, this anyway I am not describing, we can control the beam characteristics, etc. Okay. So, as I told you that the effect of this, right, photobiomodulation, right, allows ATP or NOx or ROS to be, right, near infrared light beam is absorbed, and the activity can help us to right, here improve the healing effect, etc. Okay. The next right aspect is photodynamic therapy. Okay. So, the next approach where the intensity is slightly increased, photo intensity of the source is increased. 1 minute. Okay. So, in case of, oh sorry, not photodynamic, before we go to the photodynamic therapy, I am sorry, I will this first we will talk about photochemical activity, photochemical, right, with a little higher intensity, and right, photochemical therapy is also available. Here the mostly red lasers are used. Okay. Red lasers. Okay. They interact with the molecules to produce some right oxygen right, to produce based on the certain transitions to produce right oxygen, you can say isotope also. Okay. So, that oxygen is acting as a means it will try to remove some of the cells, because it will indirectly act as an, basically it is a toxicity which will remove some of the cells. So, some of the undesirable cells or malignant tissues, where if we can selectively produce such effect, okay, is the idea. So, how it is done? Again, in terms of power levels, it may be few watts or little larger power, and power intensity will be 100 milliwatt per centimeter square to few tens of, okay, few tens of watt per centimeter square. Okay, watt per centimeter square is the intensity which is used. Okay, and it is also known as this approach, photochemical therapy, which is right therapy, it is also known as photodynamic therapy, when it really removes the tissue. Okay. So, some times they are also right therapy. Okay. So, what happens in this case? Okay. Okay, there are various ways, but this one, let us say we inject a particular drug. Now, this drug get attached, or the tissues which are affected, malignant tissue, cancerous tissues will absorb this drug, while the other normal tissues will reject this drug. So, selectively this drug will get located in certain parts of the body wherever the cells are cancerous cells. It may take a few hours or few days, 1 day to 2 days, right, after injecting this, after 1 or 2 days the properly the drug will selectively get right attached to this cancerous cells. Then light source, as I told you, red color, around 60 nanometer light source activates right this drug so as to produce oxygen, okay, excitation of oxygen. So, this activity, okay, it's something like this, and this drug is basically it can be photosensitized. Okay. So, when light interacts with the drug molecules, the drug will absorb this light, 660 nanometer light, it will go to its level, particular right pump absorbed right position, and then it will go to transition level T1. Now, through energy transfer within this organic chemicals, right, this drug, this energy transfer will take place so as to produce a triplet state, in the molecular. Triplet state means this energy gets transferred, excited atoms over excited molecules will transfer the energy to the another molecule within this chemical molecular structures, and it will produce singlet oxygen formation. Okay. This singlet oxygen is responsible, act as a toxic, right, as a toxic material to remove for responsible for the tissue necrosis. Now, this dyes, they have different wavelengths for sensitization. 660 nanometer is the red color, right, light, which is used for, depending upon the type of right sensitizing material what we use, we can select a particular wavelength and excite this dye to produce singlet oxygen, right, and then this oxygen right is basically this oxygen act as a toxic material. So, normal cells inject the drug, malignant cells will absorb this drug, while normal cells will reject this drug. Then the drug is exposed to the red line, which produces singlet oxygen molecule, this molecules, and then they destroys this malignant tissue. Okay, so that's the idea. So, but the whole process involves chemical activities. It is not through thermal effect, it is through chemical effect. That is why photochemical effect, or it is also known as photodynamic therapy approach. Okay. So, this is one of the such publication where they clearly showed that wherever laser irradiated area, how the tissue damage could be captured with the help of oxygen. Okay. Now, we come to the other process, which is a thermal process. Okay. So, if we talk about photothermal process now, not the chemical process, but photothermal processes, these processes are useful for change in changing, basically it induces temperature change, right, change in tissue temperature, right, a temperature change is observed. Okay. Now, depending upon the intensity of the light source, depending upon the exposure time or the type of pulse width, etc., we can control this increase in tissue temperature. Okay. And the process involved in such therapy is basically over here, whatever light source is there will be absorbed by different molecules, and then that light source is responsible for hyperthermia, either hyperthermia, that means the temperature increases to 45 degree centigrade, or cell immobility, where the temperature goes to 50 degree centigrade or so. Then coagulation process, when the temperature increases to 60 degree centigrade or so. Then around membrane becomes permeable, membrane becomes permeable at around 80 degree centigrade or so. It results in you can say some part of water starts vaporizing, okay, and the water bubbles will be formed. So, water induce vaporization and bubble formation, plasma formation, induces ablation in the material at around 100 degree centigrade, correct. Steam will be formed. Why? Water is, lot of water is there in the tissue, and that comes into picture. Okay. Then beyond melting, water, 100 degree centigrade boiling point, beyond that, if heating effect comes into picture, we end up with carbonization, because now there is not much of water left. Now, most of this organic compounds, they will start getting dissociated, carbonization, and beyond and then finally melting of those organic materials beyond 300 degree centigrade. Okay, that is the general way. So, now this whole process, okay, if we try to explain with this thing, it is like this. Okay. So, when laser beam interacts, okay, or irradiating laser beam interacts with the tissue, some part of this light is getting absorbed by the tissue, and that absorption results in basically thermal effect. Okay. And this thermal effect results in temperature increase, hyperthermia or coagulation or vaporization, carbonization, and finally melting. Okay, and so these aspects are responsible for material removal. Okay, so that's why these processes are basically photothermal processes, which results in either material removal or sometimes even coagulation or ablation. Okay, right, ablation through this material removal process. Okay, and what are the wavelength which are used? Generally for photocoagulation process, where the temperature should go up to maybe right 60 70 degrees centigrade. So it's only heating effect which comes into picture. Okay, and very less of evaporation, etc. And because of this, the blood coagulation characteristics improves at this temperature. And previously argon ion laser was used, now NdAg laser is used. Okay, NdAg laser. Okay, 532 nanometers second harmonic generation laser can be used to induce this right photocoagulation process. Okay, we can, as I told you, photo disruption, that is heating the molecule beyond a certain temperature and producing cavitation using water right molecules which are producing shock waves. As they get converted into vapor form, they produce shock waves, and that is being right taken care through cavitation effect, etc. Okay. Then photoablation comes. Now in case of photoablation, the wavelength of the light which we use is UV source, okay, ultraviolet. The advantage with UV light source is it can be absorbed with a within a very thin layer of material. Absorption coefficient is large. So the heat will remain confined to a very small region and efficiently heated to go to the vaporization or ablation form. So you can remove the material very easily without affecting nearby tissues, okay, using short wavelength laser. So that is UV laser which is used. If I use neodymium YAG laser, it is possible to even ablate by using high intensity pulse, it is possible. However, wavelength light wavelength 1064 nanometer, the absorption is very small, absorption coefficient. Okay. So what will happen? Light will propagate throughout the tissue surface. Then most nearby all tissues will also absorb that light, will also get heated up, the heat affected zone, etc. will get affected, and it will also damage nearby tissues. And that is why UV laser source, which is absorbed by very thin layer of the tissues, is preferred for removing the material through photoablation. Okay. So it is that is why it is also useful for changing the refractive index of the refractive index correction, the cornea, etc., etc. It is possible using a thermal effect without damaging the nearby right tissues. And sometimes we want to use really remove the tissue material via ablation and cutting process. We can use femtosecond laser, short pulse laser, the heat affected zone will be limited. Okay. So argon fluoride laser or UV laser is useful for photoablation, okay, through very large amount of absorption. Okay. Heating effect, second harmonic generation of neodymium YAG laser is sufficient for photocoagulation effect. Now remember that previously argon ion laser was used, but it used to be very heavy, it requires lot of cooling, etc. So now it is being used efficient, means it is being that system is replaced by neodymium YAG laser. Otherwise the wavelength wise they are very nearer. Okay. And photo cutting, as I told you, femtosecond laser, or sometimes even we can use UV laser, not an issue. However, femtosecond laser ensures that the heat affected zone is minimum, and photo disruption etc. is taken care by NdAg laser, pulsed NdAg laser. Okay, and the temperature increase due to the laser interaction is very simple, as we had studied previously, that whatever may be the fluence and temperature, change in temperature is equal to whatever may be the fluence of the laser fluence which is getting absorbed, right, by the material. So E in is the energy into absorption coefficient, right, and the time duration for which it is interacting and divided by rho into C. Okay. So, rho is the density of the tissue material, C is the specific heat of that tissue material, correct. So, this is nothing but energy absorbed is equal to change in the internal energy, right. So, that equation will give us the change in the temperature. Okay. So, this delta T is nothing but the temperature change. E in is the laser fluence, right. Mu A is the absorption coefficient of this tissue material, which will decide amount of heat which is getting coupled with the tissue. Tau is the pulse duration of this laser, rho is the specific density of tissue material, and C is the specific heat. Okay. And rho is the tissue density rather, right, and C heat capacity is so with this approach we can estimate the amount of temperature rise. Okay, and the depth of this temperature the depth the heated region, okay, or heat affected region due to this right pulse laser interaction with the tissue material, heat affected region or the depth of heat which is getting induced is proportional to the thermal diffusivity. Let us say what shall I write, okay, alpha thermal diffusivity, okay, into pulse duration, laser pulse, okay, duration. So, alpha thermal diffusivity is nothing but conductivity divided by rho into C. Okay. Rho is the density of the tissue material, C is the specific heat the tissue material, K is the conductivity of the tissue material, thermal conductivity I am talking about, that will give you thermal diffusion coefficient. Okay. Thermal conductivity is large, that means thermal diffusion coefficient will be large. So, as the pulse laser pulse interacts with the material, because of the thermal diffusion the heat may escape to the nearby tissues, right. So, as to reduce that effect, the pulse duration should be as short as possible, and that is why for such effect ablation etc., we use short pulse laser, okay, short pulse laser, because the heat affected zone will also be limited. Okay. Now, short pulse laser means nanosecond pulse laser, or ultra short pulse laser means femtosecond pulse lasers, right, can be used in order to improve right, or rather reduce the heat affected region and improve the thermal, right, interactions effect. Okay. So, this way we can allow material removal through laser induced heating, okay, with the pulsed laser, right, so it is possible. Okay. And for example, we can use such approach to remove, right, to correct let us say corneal characteristics or the lens characteristics etc., in the optical, right, in ophthalmology, right. So, tissue photoablation, which will allow UV light breaks the molecular bonds in the tissue, okay, and it is through photo dissociation, okay, and then so it will precisely remove depending upon how the right tissue this interaction takes place, and subsequently right photoablation process is used for corneal surgery. Let us say I want to remove certain material or right. So, using excimer laser we can use. Of course, the fluence is quite less, 180 200 millijoule per centimeter square. Okay. So, energy fluence, laser fluence is let us say 200 millijoule per centimeter square. Okay. Pulse width of excimer laser is of the order of 5 to 6 nanosecond. Okay. Let us say 5 nanosecond. So, that means what is the peak power? Peak power is quite large. Okay, right. Each single pulse will have peak power of megawatt per centimeters, peak intensity, right. Fluence divided by pulse width will give me the approximate right peak power. So, 200 millijoule per centimeter square divided by 5 nanosecond. So, 200 by 5 is 40, and 10 raised to minus 3 here, 10 raised to 9 here. So, 40 megawatt, this will be having a peak power of 40 megawatt per centimeter square. Okay, but remember this energy is being delivered in 5 nanosecond, okay, before it escapes to the nearby anywhere. Okay, thermal effect will be reduced. As I told you, thermal effect can be reduced by reducing this pulse interaction. Okay, so that can be taken care, and that will allow right this energy transfer. Okay, of course, we know that during photoablation, if there is a chance, we can also see if our energy is less enough, we will see the fluorescence etc. But if the energy is large enough, the molecular dissociation comes into picture, okay, and ablation comes into picture, okay, through this. So, basically the process, okay, this whole process will remove the photoablation process will remove the material. Now, how will we estimate approximate ablation depth corresponding to okay, this process. So, if we see, okay, so let us say this is natural log of input right energy fluence, okay, and this is correspondingly ablation depth, okay, of the material. Now, initially when the fluence is very small, very small, material removal is not coming into picture. It is only maybe photochemical at very low energy, maybe if the UV source and very little higher energy, heating effect may come into picture through absorption, and when it crosses a particular temperature, ablation may start. Material removal through water vapor getting right vaporized and producing some plasma. Over and above, the intensity is even large enough, it will produce carbonization, melting of the whole that material and getting getting into the plasma formation. Okay, temperature will keep increasing. Whatever plasma is formed above this let us say surface of the material where laser irradiation takes place, that plasma itself will start now also absorbing some energy, that and that heating effect etc. will also come, but then here initially material removal takes place, and after reaching a particular level where the plasma is so dense that material the subsurface material will not be able to absorb, will not be able to receive that laser energy, rather plasma will absorb all the energy. So, the depth of right penetration will right get saturated. So, if you see this right as the fluence increases, E0, which is laser fluence, if it increases, we will see after a certain range the ablation depth is limited. So, if I want to estimate the this ablation depth, okay, relationship between ablation depth and this. So, this position is nothing but plasma formation, right, dense plasma formation intensity or fluence, okay, plasma formation. And this position is, let us say, ablation threshold, okay, ablation threshold. So, let us say it is EAB, ablation threshold. Okay. So, E0, when it becomes EAB, we will see that there is an ablation starting point. Okay. And when E0 becomes E plasma, the saturation comes into picture. Thereafter, plasma absorbs all incoming input energy, while material is not getting directly affected. Okay. So, based on this relationship, right, we can estimate that Z ablation can be equal to 1 upon mu A, which is nothing but the absorption coefficient, natural log of E0 minus 1 upon mu A, natural log of E ablation, right. Okay, will give you the depth. Okay. You know relationship between absorption coefficient Z and E0, right. That is what we have used here, right. Beer-Lambert's law, okay, in order to derive this form. Okay. So, this will give you, so we can even write down this equation as Z AB is equal to 1 upon mu A, natural log of E0, right, or E, right, E plasma, or right, E plasma divided by E ablation, correct. It will give you this. So, this is the way that we can even estimate the how much depth we will be able to remove before the plasma, right, takes over absorption of this. Okay. So, and now depending upon the material characteristics, see, if I am using the laser to ablate let us say plaque, okay, in intravascular, right, plaque formation, or to remove kidney stone, or in ophthalmology, depending upon the material what we are using, these characteristics may be slightly different, because absorption coefficients are different for kidney stone or for, right, plaque material, etc. But it is possible to remove such material